So I'm just trying to calibrate what the agitation is about. That
So,
at
sorry,
least
Mr. Gidojo,
some of the grievances are being looked into.
Sorry,
But
Mr. Ojo.
yes, you want to say something?
All right, yes, I want to say something. You said that there was a perception about marginalization. Don't you think it was real that the Igbo nation was clearly marginalized? And you just said that the second Niger bridge was completed during the tenure of Muhammad Buhari. Can you point to any other federal infrastructure that exists in the Southeast during the Buhari administration? Buhari had how many security heads in all the agencies? None of them came from the Southeast. Even in the present government, how many people from the Southeast are serving in this government? That wasn't the case during the Obasanjo and Jonathan and even Yar'Adua administration. So, like I said, I asked, was the marginalization not a reality in the light of the few things that I've just pointed out? And you talk about addressing those things, that the Minister of Works is from the Southeast. How many of the federal roads in the past 16 months have been constructed in the Southeast? Was it just perception or was it a reality?
I will still maintain that it's a matter of perception.
Hello everyone, welcome back once again. My people, this video is a must watch. Like, this is a heated argument about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igboho. So in this interview, they are trying to find out the reason why Sunday Igboho is a free man while Nnamdi Kanu is still in DSS custody. And according to this Yoruba man, he said that when Igbos talk about marginalization, it's kind of perception, because according to him, some of the things Igbos are agitating for have been attended. My people, and he said that the reason why Sunday Igboho is a free man today is because when Sunday Igboho was in Benin Republic, that he was, fighting Nigeria government and he won all his cases in Nigeria court. That is the reason why when Sunday Igboho, came to Nigeria government did not disturb him. That Sunday Igboho was a free man in Benin Republic before Tinubu became the president. That is not actually the Tinubu or Nigeria government that, free Sunday Igboho. My people, this gist is very, very long. Let me allow you guys so that you can relax and hear everything they said in this particular video.
The indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has accused the Nigerian government of defying court rulings by continuing to detain its leader, Nnamdi Kanu. Despite multiple judgments in his favor, Kanu remains in the custody of the Department of State Services, DSS, since his arrest and extradition from Kenya in June 2021. IPOB claims Kanu's detention persists due to his firm stance on actualizing the Biafra nation. Oh well, IPOB issued a statement on Thursday by its media and publicity secretary, Emma Powerful. He said, despite court judgments in favor of Kanu, the Nigerian government has continued to detain him. Powerful lamented how Kanu has been detained by the DSS since June 2021, when he was arrested in Kenya and extraordinarily renditioned to Nigeria. Whereas Yoruba Nation agitator Sunday Igboho has petitioned UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, urging him to support the creation of a Yoruba nation. The petition, delivered on behalf of Yoruba leader Professor Adebanji Akintoye, seeks UK intervention in establishing a sovereign state for the Yoruba people. This follows sustained advocacy efforts by Akintoye and Igboho, who have also cautioned the Nigerian government against pressuring the British High Commissioner over the petition. Yet, nothing is practically done in that regard. Meanwhile, National Security Advisor NSA Malam Nuhu Ribadu has revealed that many illicit weapons circulating in Nigeria originally belonged to the government. During an armed destruction exercise in Abuja, Ribadu condemned the involvement of corrupt security personnel in arming non-state actors, pledging decisive action to address the nation's security challenges. We are joined in the studio this morning by Barrister Asim Adams, a political analyst, and Mr. Dele Fanimo, a reporter and VOP in-house analyst. We also have virtually Mr. Jide Ojo, who is a public policy analyst. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us on this morning show. And welcome.
But we do understand that Jide Ojo has not joined the conversation yet, but as soon as he does, we'll bring him on.
All right. Now, Barrister Asim, as a lawyer, Can you take us through briefly, the court judgments or the court rulings that have said, let Nnamdi Kanu go, and why is the federal government still detaining him?
Well, thank you very much. We know that the Kanu's, trial, etc., has been a kind of very controversial from his arrest, and his rendition back to Nigeria, and the trials has been a kind of a kangaroo kind of setup. I think I have to use that word. What I mean is this. In the first instance, the state, before you arrest somebody, we were thinking that you should have concrete proofs, what we call proof of evidence, that are substantial enough to sustain a criminal charge. Kanu was brought to Nigeria, first of all, on terrorism. Secondly, we found some other issue like armed dealings, etc., as case may be, then secession, etc. So the prosecution, they were not really too sure of where and how to couch the charges against, Nnamdi Kanu. That is number one. Number two is that at a particular point in time, you find out that, courts were giving, judgments, rulings in his favor, to the extent that a particular court where constituted Nigeria, asked that Kanu be released, not just on bail, he should be released and let him go home to breathe the fresh air of Nigerian freedom. But before you knew what was going on, in the next 2, 3, 4 hours, they will concoct some other charges again and bring him before another court. And we were asking the question until the judge who was handling the matter, I think she recused herself now, but we found out that this particular judge, even though the defense, complained about, her partiality, as the case may be, she kept on, sitting over the matter for a very long time until she recused herself right now. But on the whole, I think the Kanu's trial has been a gambit. It has been a political, fiasco.
Why do you say so?
And a harakiri for Nigeria, democracy. Yes, why I say so is this. It's not far-fetched. Now, let me say with due respect. You see, when you keep somebody in detention and you now ferret, you now go out to ferret for evidences to prosecute that person, then it becomes anathema to the Constitution. Two is that under our Nigerian Constitution, a man that is charged of an offense is presumed innocent until found guilty. But the way they have been treating this young man is that he's been found guilty already. And that is the reason why we will not allow him to go. Even when they say grant bail, before you know, somebody will come from nowhere and bring fresh charges.
What does that make the judicial system, Barrister Adams? Because they are the ones accepting or, taking up all these charges, like you just said now. If this continues, where does that leave the judiciary in Nigeria?
The judicial arm of, government in Nigeria is right now in a trial period. And this is not the best time for us to even chronicle and profile, what I feel, are things, are debilitating factors that have held them down. But I believe that the era of brave judges or activist judges on the bench is over. I was discussing something like this the other day, and I said, if we had people like, the late Oputa, people like Sowebimo and the rest of them, Ututus, Obasekis, you have people like Mohamed Bello, Mohamed Bello, a lot of people, former CJN of Nigeria, and so many of them who were activist judges, who were brave during the military era to tell the military, look, we want democracy, do this. And they pontificated in that particular, hallowed chambers in the Supreme Court. We lack them right now. If we had people like that in the judicature today, I believe that this Nnamdi Kanu's case would have been taken care of. That is number two. Number three is this. The preferential or maybe the different, treatment he's receiving. In the sense that you find that I think he's being profiled, this is my opinion, I feel he's being profiled because of the fact that he is from a particular, section of the country that the Nigerian political galacticos, do not feel that they want to make relevant. And they don't even want to see anything come out from that area. Now, the charges against Nnamdi Kanu borders on what terrorism, etc. as case may be. But it has been convoluted. In the case of Sunday Igboho, as the case may be, Sunday Igboho, we had charges of terrorism against him. His men went, before a police station at, Bodija in Ibadan, pulled down the Nigerian flag and hoisted, the Yoruba nation flag. In Ibadan, we read these things. I was not there, but I read on newspapers, etc. before they invaded his house. But how he escaped, and today he's not even hobnobbing with the Prime Minister of UK, etc., or their whatever they call it, is dumbfounded. I really cannot say. Now, the question I've asked is, the charges against Kanu is going on in court. What about Sunday Igboho? What has happened to those criminal charges that were placed on this? What happened? We only heard he ran to Benin Republic. Why have they not extradited him? Like they did Nnamdi Kanu back to Nigeria. He's in UK. He's becoming very prominent, moving up and down. So these are things that are anathema, and the reason why I feel that, there's a selective amnesia, in dealing with these two cases. The last one I want to say in this particular whatever is that there's a Wadume who was a terrorist. This man was a bandit, he was a terrorist, he was an armed robber. That is, I'm not just trying to impose these things on him or these appellations on him, but the court and the agencies said so. What happened? He was right, and giving conviction like a tap in the wrist. And today I heard he's a chief in his community. So why is the Nnamdi Kanu's own this so plausible for government to begin to prosecute and keeping him in detention, not even in the correctional center, but in the gallows of the DSS? Those who are prosecuting him are the ones keeping him, and the ones judging him. Those who accuse him are the ones keeping him. They are the ones judging him. They are the ones, deliberating on his matter. As case may be. So for me, it's a hallowed trial.
So where does that leave democracy in Nigeria?
Democracy is in abeyance in Nigeria. Right. Nigeria's democracy is voodoo type. I dare say, Nigeria's democracy is voodoo type. And this is not democracy. This is mobocracy, in my own opinion. And what people, I was telling people, I read an article that said, Nigeria does not even practice democracy, they practice plutocracy. You understand? This is what we practice here. Government or the rich people decide. They can even decide to throw me into the gallows and leave me there for years and let me rot away. You understand? So once you are a big man, you are in government in Nigeria. That is what happens. We have two laws. One law for people like me, one law for those who are there, who are the big boys. And it's so sad. So we are not practicing democracy at all, in my own opinion.
All right, then. Quite an extensive one, I must say. And you touched on a few other issues as well. Let me come to Mr. Fanimo now. Nnamdi Kanu has sought intervention from the international community. He has sought the UK government's involvement. How far can that go? How much involvement can we see from the international community when it comes to sorting out his case and letting him off the hook?
You see, the continued detention of Nnamdi Kanu is, to me, an aberration. That said, but I want to say here, and I've said it on a number of occasions in the past, that as it is, there is a kind of logjam over this case. He has visited courts several times, and he had been released by the court, and they're still holding on to him. But then, one thing I want us to look at is when you are comparing the case of Igboho and Kanu, I want to say that what the Yoruba have is what is saving Igboho.
And what's that?
You see, an average Yoruba man feels that sometimes when the hard way is not possible, you use the subtle way. The same treatment that we visited on Nnamdi Kanu was also visited on Sunday Igboho. The DSS raided his home in Ibadan, killed many people, in fact, ran him out of the country. He was on his way from Benin Republic to Germany when he was accosted. He was detained in Republic of Benin for several months. As a matter of fact, there was an overture from former Chief of Army Staff, Buratai, that he should rescind that decision of going ahead with Odua Nation, that he will be given amnesty. But he insisted that he was not going to give up on that. So at the end of the day, there was underground diplomacy. Yoyinka and the likes of Akitoye went underground, met with Republic of Benin. Don't forget that Yoruba people are also in the Republic of Benin. Even his lawyer is a Yoruba descendant. So they went underground and find political solution to Sunday Igboho's case.
Okay.
Now, in the case of Kanu, it is apparent that government is adamant on keeping him. And if the courts are said,
and basically what you're saying is the elders in the south are not coming together.
But
they have been coming together.
You see, don't forget that Buhari was in government when Sunday Igboho was let off the hook, not Tinubu. So for Buhari to...
It was towards the tail end of his administration. It was
what I'm saying is he was still in government.
Okay.
Until the last minute you exit government, you are still in charge.
There's something interesting that you said. Please remind me. I don't know if when Nnamdi Kanu's home was raided, did they find a cache of arms like they did in the case of Sunday Igboho? Because I do recall that a cache of arms were found, and they even arrested cats as well.
Cat?
Oh yes, they did, because they felt he transitioned into a cat. But now, on a more serious note, arms were found in one place that showed that there was a coming together to perpetrate to perpetrate chaos, probably in defense to whatever they believed in. But in another man's case, and then there was a political solution to that one, regardless of the fact that guns and ammunition were found. In another man's case, I don't recall if they found ammunitions in his place, but then we cannot have a political solution to his own case.
No matter how hard we begin to debate this, government has taken a stand. The only thing we can do is to make them shift that position and release this man. Because for me, the
only thing we can do, who is the we now? The Igbos in Nigeria? The Southeasterners? Or Nigerians?
Nigerians can go around, find a way out of this lockdown. And
because it's one thing to say, oh yes, the Southeasterners are not coming together to fight for the release of this man. But let's not forget that he may be from the southeastern part of Nigeria, but he's first of all a Nigerian. Yes. So why don't we see other individuals that are highly respected in Nigeria coming together as well to speak to government in this regard?
During MK Abiola's detention, do you know that even Yoruba talk, we are the ones fanning the ember of government should keep him in detention? Do you understand? So it is not impossible that we find even Southeasterners behind continued detention of this man.
Are you not saying that the 50 National Assembly representatives that went to go talk about this on his behalf, are they not also Nigerians, or don't they have a voice enough for them?
Let me tell you, I've worked closely with big men. Big men have ego. When you confront them and you make it an open thing, you are not going to get the result you desire.
Are we looking at ego or confrontation or judgment and justice that Nigerians also deserve?
You see, at the risk of this academic exercise we are having here, I have seen it several times happen that if I offend you, if I go to you privately to say, now this is the position and this is why I did this and did that, you have that listening here. But the moment another person is with me, you don't want your ego bruised, you will take a hard stand on me. What I'm saying in this is that rather than go and do open show and bring cameramen, bring journalists to say we are pleading for Kanu, there are other ways you can go about it without even having any media presence.
Then
To make sure that
what I want to
you see,
ask.
my aim here is that this man they should find a way to make sure that he's released. It is only when you are out there that you can prosecute your case properly.
I want to ask, is there anything the Igbo nation has not done to ensure the release of Nnamdi Kanu, both privately, both publicly? We have some prominent Yoruba men that have asked the government to release Nnamdi Kanu. We even have prominent Northerners ask the federal government to release Nnamdi Kanu. Yet, the same government remains adamant. Now, if you put it side by side with the Sunday Igboho issue now, Sunday Igboho, like Moses rightly pointed out, catch of arms were found in his house. Yet, he's not been charged with terrorism. He was in Benin Republic. He was not renditioned back. He is in the UK now campaigning for the actualization of the sovereign state of Yoruba. The only thing the federal government has done is to dismiss it that, look, the UK will not accept this petition. Isn't this a clear case of political persecution? Not just against Nnamdi Kanu, but against the people that he represents?
Well, for me, we are entitled to have different opinions about these things. But for me,
factually, with facts,
you understand. What I see is that Sunday Igboho's case, I am not defending him because he ran foul of the law of the land by declaring Odua Republic, just like Nnamdi also did by declaring Biafra, sovereign state of Biafra. And Sunday Igboho had a military wing, just the same way that IPOB existed under Nnamdi Kanu. But the question is, when these people started the agitation and they got into the point that the military wing was flexing muscles, you remember they went to the State House of Assembly on a Saturday, hosting their flags and making trouble, but they were rounded up. Immediately they were rounded up. The first thing, every well-meaning elders in Yoruba land denounced them and said they are still in prison now, in Agodi prison. And that quelled that movement because they didn't get any support from their own base.
But Igboho is going ahead with the agitation.
Even writing petition to cast them out.
Igboho can write petition. You understand? Igboho can agitate. It's still within his rights. But today, you can't find an army around Igboho. You understand?
Are there armies around Nnamdi Kanu?
But IPOB is still claiming that they are offshoot of
IPOB, you know, is indigenous people of Biafra, which also have their own registration.
But they have been profiled.
And also recognized.
Wrongly profiled.
Wrongly profiled? Because a court also asked the federal government of Nigeria to pay a certain amount of money to IPOB for prescribing them here in Nigeria.
But what I'm saying is they are still being profiled as the military arm of this agitation for Biafra state. Sometimes they deny involvement in crimes in that region. But sometimes they own up. We have seen videos where they'll say that we are doing this. When this man was attacked, Ifeanyi, they said they were behind it. And that because Ifeanyi, you see, except that we don't want to be neutral about these things. I am not saying what Igboho did was right.
Nobody's saying that you're saying that.
I will not sit here and say that Nnamdi Kanu at a point was right in his agitation. But what I'm saying is, at the long run, if nations go to war, they still come back to round table to resolve issues. and how to resolve this issue and make sure that this young man, who has a family, who has children, who has wife, should be released.
You said something about...
And except we want to compound this, I think what should matter to us is how this man will be out of the DSS.
Then you said something about
cell.
ego. And what I understood by that ego, I don't know if that is the perception you have, that Nnamdi Kanu has not...
I'm not saying Nnamdi Kanu has an ego. I said the government that held him. I gave that analogy based on the fact that government that held him will not want to be seen as acquiescing to all those people that are going in the morning with cameras and everything, and journalists.
But the same government
But
appears
you
to
can
demand
still
to let Igboho go. That is the question we are asking. My personal, the point of it is that,
Was there any visitation to Buhari before Igboho was let off the...
No, even if it was underground.
No, I'm asking you. But you also admit that it was possible that some people had gone underground.
Exactly. So,
you understand?
And we also
so
understand that
why don't we encourage people?
That some Igbo people have also been going underground.
Even across the divide, you said Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbos are going to visit the government to ensure that it's released. They should continue.
So why would the government now not take the people that are coming underground, but now prefer to show off ego for those that are coming publicly? My question is, do you think, if you put both cases side by side, do you think Nnamdi Kanu is being persecuted?
Because politically persecuted, or
whether politically or legally? Because the same government...
If it's legally, it has to do with the law, and thank God a lawyer is here.
But this same lawyer said that the court of competent jurisdiction asked for Nnamdi to be released. So why hasn't the government released him?
What I'm saying is, it is wrong for government to still hold him on legal grounds.
And politically, is it right for them to hold him?
Politically, it's best for the government to decide that.
So are we not working with the political rights or wrongs? Everywhere we have the justice, we have the rule of law in Nigeria, and we have the justice to be the only thing leading since we are a democratic state or nation.
I have said it here, and except we want to put another round of words into my mouth.
All right, now
government...
All right, Barrister, let's get into it.
Yes, I think these things are here. For me, it is pure selective amnesia. Legally speaking, first of all, let's go there. The Court of Appeal, the Federal High Court, discharged Nnamdi Kanu. The Court of Appeal also affirmed that decision of discharge, even though he was not acquitted. But when you are discharged, you are not acquitted, the court can still bring charges. The state can still bring charges against you. But in Nnamdi Kanu's case, when he was discharged, I said, go home. Court of Appeal. We were thinking, even if it's just 1 day or 2 days, obey that Court of Appeal order, release him based on, what the court has said. Because the Buhari AG, the AG Fed, Adoke, is it Adoke they call that young man, the AG during Buhari's time, said that it is the court that will determine Nnamdi Kanu's fate. No problem. What's his name again? Fagbemi came in and when asked about, he said it's the court that will determine Nnamdi Kanu's fate. The court decided and determined. I said, go. But they kept him after the court had made pronouncement, while they were trying to ask court to, look, obey court order. For 3 weeks, he was in the gallows of the DSS. And for that 3 weeks, the AG Fed had to move around to appeal that particular, appeal court, judgment. The Supreme Court of the land even said that the way he was brought into Nigeria was an illegal way of doing things. But he only said that let that matter be taken back, to the lower court, where is that for proper trial, as the case may be. We felt as at that time that the Supreme Court, if we had some very brave, judges like I mentioned before, would have asked the young man to go home, then whenever discharge him, not acquitted. When you discharge him, I believe that the government will now come back with fresh charges and bring him properly before the court. But the Supreme Court now said, go back to that lower court, go and start your trial again, de novo, from the beginning. That is number one. Number two is that prominent people, Igbo people, met, Buhari, Ohaneze Igbo people, what's his name, Nwayanwu was there, even Emeka Anyanko has gone there, is it Kalu has gone there. Then you have this man, Ben Wabweze. Professor Ben Wabweze is like, like the one Akintoye we have in the Southwest. That's a professor like himself. But Professor Ben Wabweze is more known and prominent, with due respect to Akintoye, in the Nigerian political lithosphere. He also went before, Buhari. Then the Uwazirike, that is not the Maswab leader, but the elderly Uwazirike, who is late now, who was, the President General of Ohaneze Nnamdi Igboho, the whole world, when they said, President, my own son, please, if you can release Nnamdi Kanu, let me see him before I die. That was an emotional statement. And when we were thinking that Buhari will do something, or maybe the state will do something, he just laughed over it. And some months after the man made that statement, the man died. All those who clamored for the release of Nnamdi Kanu from the South, the prominent people are all late right now. If you look at the list, you know what I'm telling you. Then you now look at, let me tell you the reason why we are saying that the Igboho and the Nnamdi Kanu's case is this. When this particular issue started, number one, immediately Nnamdi Kanu was, arrested, the whole of the Southeast was cordoned up with troops of, Operation One Thing, as they call them. Is it Pofada, as they call them? But when Igboho, before Igboho ran, to a Benin Republic, and those people who went to that place to hoist their flag, at the police station, they were arrested. Why was even Oyo State alone not cordoned off? And a special military, whatever, taking them, because they were still killing people inside the forest. They had to go out on the war against the Fulanis, as they said, open and close. Why did they not cordon off the whole of the Southwest the way they are doing the Southeast now? There's a special troop in the Southeast, that is creating problem. So when you create tension, that is the problem. Now, two, is this, let me tell you, Sunday Igboho escaped, let me use the word, he went to Benin Republic, he jumped bail, in fact, he jumped bail, because there was a court or whatever, he had to run away. Charges were there, he ran away. Now the Kanu's case was this. What the government said was that when, what's his name, Barry took him on bail as a shorty, they said he jumped bail. He now ran, out of Nigeria. You understand? And what did he say? He used that particular, invasion of his father's house as an excuse for him to run away. Then if he had not run away at that time, that the soldiers would have killed him. That yes, he knew he was on bail, but he had to run away because the fact that, soldiers that were drafted to the Southeast to come and burn his father's house, frightened him and ran away. That was for me a very genuine and, germane reason. Now, when he left and government said he jumped bail, they now had to, use extramilitary, might to go outside of Nigeria to look for him, to, bring him back. They spent a lot of money, to bring Nnamdi Kanu back to come and face, what we are asking. Why are they not using the same method, for them against Sunday Igboho?
All right, let's get.
So these are the questions. I'm not being partisan, but I'm just being realistic.
Absolutely.
Because I have profiled this a number of times. Human rights angle, we have complained. International human rights, they have said, release this man, let him go. You see, your constitution, you're going against your constitution. So myself, I feel is selective amnesia. That is just the truth of the matter for me.
Thank you very much, Barrister Asim Adams. Well, we have a virtual guest, Jide Ojo. Thanks for joining the conversation. Good morning to you. Well, you've been listening, and I like the fact that the barrister took us down memory lane. He reminded us of a few things. Now, I'm going to throw this very, very straight. Isn't this a case of we all are Nigerians, but some are more Nigerian than others?
Is that a question for me?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Please let the studio allow me to see you. I'm not seeing anything at the other end.
Okay, our engineers will get to work. I think it has something to do with the quality of the video, but our engineers are working on that one. So you can,
Okay.
they can put you on screen as against just having your voice. All right, can you see now? Can you see the studio now?
No, I'm not seeing anything yet, but I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, so our engineers will get to work. But while they're working on that, do you mind just going ahead?
Yes, I think it's double standard. Even though it wasn't this administration that granted Sunday Igboho the freedom, I believe you will recall that Sunday Igboho under Buhari was hounded and his house was raided in Ibadan. And he managed to escape to Benin Republic, where he was put on trial after he was trying to leave for Germany, himself and his wife. I think he was apprehended at the Benin International Airport and was jailed for like 2 years. But eminent Nigerians of Yoruba extraction, I believe, went to work and pleaded for leniency with the Benin authority, and that was how Sunday Igboho came back after the Tinubu administration has been inaugurated. That's the fact of the case. It wasn't as if the Nigerian government was the one that pardoned, quote and unquote, Sunday Igboho. Sunday Igboho was hounded. Someone was killed in that raid in his house in Ibadan. And a number of people were arrested, and he fought his way through the court even while he was in Benin Republic, and he won all his cases in Nigerian court. But the Benin authority apprehended him, jailed him for like 2 years, and he was eventually released to go to Germany, where he, quote and unquote, hibernated till Tinubu government came to power. So Tinubu administration could not arrest him because he won all his cases in the Nigerian court, even while he was in absentia. He sued the DSS and the security authorities of Nigeria. But having said that, and that's just setting the record straight about Sunday Igboho. Having said that, I still strongly believe that the solution to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's release is a political solution. It cannot and should not be done singularly through the court. All the people I have known who were either militants in Niger Delta or the agitators in the Southwest, starting from the current Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò, Gani Adams. Recall that Gani Adams under Obasanjo was apprehended and was in prison for years before Yoruba elders waded in and pleaded with Obasanjo administration to allow Gani Adams to go. So that was the one where I could say, matter of fact, political solution was deployed by the Yoruba elders. So it was in the case of Gani Adams, the current Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò, the generalissimo of Yoruba race, that the political solution. But in the case of Sunday Igboho, it was actually international diplomacy by some Yoruba elders that eventually led to his release by the Benin authorities, and eventually, like I said, he won all his cases in the Nigerian courts, and the facts are there. But in terms of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I also have agitated, I've advocated that a political solution is what will resolve the IPOB agitation. Don't forget that MASOB preceded IPOB before IPOB was founded and became the arrowhead of the struggle for Igbo political and economic emancipation. But let's also try to analyze what actually was IPOB agitation about.
That was actually the question I needed to ask you, Mr. Jideojo, because not just IPOB, we have also seen other people also agitate, even here in the South. Just this recent time, Onitire also, agitated. They went to Ibadan again to, hoist the flag and all that. And people are still agitating. And they have what they are clamoring for, which is marginalization, bad governance, and a whole lot more. Now, do you think with the arrest or this detention of Nnamdi Kanu, that the agitation is going to die down anytime soon?
Do I think the arrest and agitation what?
Do you think with the arrests and detentions that the agitations are going to die down soon? The people who are agitating, secessionists, do you think their agitation or their quest in any way is going to be mitigated or die anytime soon?
The truth, as I know it to be, is that agitations are, as a result, About Camus said the rebellion cannot exist without a feeling that somewhere in some ways you are justified. That's About Camus. Agitations, before you butted in, I was trying to lay the foundation, as I know it to be, of the IPOB agitation, which is that there was this perception of marginalization and discrimination against the Igbo nation and political exclusion. Now, if you look at the economic angle to it, the government, successive governments have been trying to resolve the economic agitation. And that's why even as against the initial freedom slip, I want to call it, by Buhari in 2015, that he cannot give same attention to those who gave him 95% of the vote. He cannot give similar attention to those who gave him 5% of the vote. And everybody felt it was referring to the Igbo nation. And obviously, people criticized him for making that statement. And we know the fact speaks that the second Niger bridge was completed by Buhari administration. Even when Jonathan was there, he didn't do it. And so I think the economic issue has been looked into. I'm not saying that maybe sufficient attention has been paid, but even as we speak today, it's an Igbo man that is the Minister of Works. You will see that just a couple of months back, Tinubu administration signed into law the Southeast Development Commission. Just the same day he gave the Northwest Development Commission. So I'm just trying to calibrate what the agitation is about. That some of the grievances are being looked into.
Sorry, Mr. Ojo.
The main issue is the political exclusion. For me, it's the political exclusion. Yes, I want to say something.
All right, yes, I want to say something. You said that there was a perception about marginalization. Don't you think it was real that the Igbo nation was clearly marginalized? And you just said that the second Niger bridge was completed during the tenure of Muhammad Buhari. Can you point to any other federal infrastructure that exists in the Southeast during the Buhari administration? Buhari had how many security heads in all the agencies? None of them came from the Southeast. Even in the present government, how many people from the Southeast are serving in this government? That wasn't the case during the Obasanjo and Jonathan and even Yar'Adua administration. So, like I said, I asked, was the marginalization not a reality in the light of the few things that I've just pointed out? And you talk about addressing those things, that the Minister of Works is from the Southeast. How many of the federal roads in the past 16 months have been constructed in the Southeast? Was it just perception or was it a reality?
I will still maintain that it's a matter of perception. Now, let me just answer in my own understanding. I said the one that is most prominent is the political exclusion. And I seated there I've said to address issue of political exclusion of the Igbo nation, similar political engineering as was done for the Yoruba nation in 1999 should be brought to bear. I've written 2 commentaries in my column in The Punch to agitate for Igbo presidency. So I'm not an ethnic jingoist. And I'm maintaining that it's a perception because
Mr. Ojo, in one breath, you admit that the Igbos were excluded from the political heights of this country. And in another breath, you also admit that it was a perception. Is it not a contradiction?
It's not.
How?
I said, listen now, that's it. Let me answer you. You said, how? See, everyone who had been present, and I said the political exclusion is based on the fact that if you look at the issue of population and number of states, you will know that it will take a kind of political engineering for an Igbo to be president of Nigeria. And that is why I have said, in terms of winning the presidency of Nigeria, you cannot be mouthing ethnic jingoist slogan and think that they will work for you. And that's why I'm saying, let us bring in the it's like what happened in Edo State during this last governorship election. APC decided to field the candidate from Edo Central in the name of Monday Okwebolo, who is a serving senator. PDP decided to go for aFree Ighodalo in the name as somebody also from Edo Central. It was a political solution because if they had gone by numerical strength, Edo South, which has over 50% of the votes, will continue to produce governor of Edo State. And that is why I said, if you look, most of the Igbos are not even residing in Southeast. They are all over Nigeria.
So what has that got to do with elections, with electoral votes? You talk about population. Mr. Ojo, you talk about population. What is the population of South and Bayelsa State that produced President Goodluck Jonathan as president of Nigeria? You also talked about how Obasanjo became president in 1999 because of a political solution from an outgrowth of what happened in June 12. So is this still a perception or a reality? And when you talk about the Igbos residing outside the Southeast, don't they have the right to vote wherever they live during presidential elections? In the 2023 general election, Mr. Joe, sorry, sir. In the 2023 general elections, didn't Peter Obi reach out? Handshakes across the Niger, handshakes in the north. What did it come up to? Did it have anything to do with the population of the Igbo nation?
Will you allow me to just land on my thoughts, please, sir?
Go ahead, sir.
Unless you don't want me to participate.
No, go ahead, sir.
I'm entitled to...
We are just...
Listen. I don't want this to be turned into Igbo Yoruba debate. If you don't want me to weigh in on this matter, then I can as well, I have better things to do.
Mr. Joe, go ahead. Go ahead. We are having a conversation, sir.
Yes, if we are having a conversation, you should not be butting into my line of thought. If you don't want to
Mr.
hear
Ojo,
if you don't want to hear what I have to say, then I have better things to do with my time. I said we need to have political solution. I've repeated this almost 5 times.
Okay.
That is how the perception of marginalization, political marginalization of Igbos, how they can get to the presidency of Nigeria. It's the political solution. I talked about what happened with the Yoruba nation in 1999 when they wanted to compensate for Abiola's death. The PDP and the AD and ANPP resolved to produce only Yoruba candidates. And that was what I agitated for in the lead up to 2023 general elections. It's there. I can send you the link. And Obasanjo that is now crying more than the bereaved that wants Igbo presidency in 2023 What did he do when he had the opportunity, when he was leaving power in 2007? Did he support an Igbo president? All the while, when he could have fostered the kind of arrangement that brought him to power in 1999 and reach out to his colleagues.
A Yoruba man from the south to give power to an Igbo man from the same south. Will you have supported Obasanjo to give power to an Igbo man from the south?
Even if he couldn't do that in 2007, I am saying ahead of 2023, before he finally endorsed Peter Obi, he could have reached out to his brother's former head of state and president to weigh in that there is a need to address the issue of Igbo not being president since the time of Nnamdi Kanu. And if he had mounted that kind of campaign like 2 years to the election, perhaps he would have been able to muster sufficient support that would lead APC and PDP to have an Igbo candidate, and it will have been a done deal for an Igbo man to be president in 2023. And I still believe that is the pathway to having an Igbo president in Nigeria in the nearest future, unless we tinker with the constitution and gave a rotational presidency among the 6 geopolitical zones, or we decide to alternate formally between north and south, and then the advocacy in the south will be a Yoruba man has been president and a South man has been president. Let an Igbo man be president.
All right.
That is the kind of political solution. And let me also speak to issue of the military. Yes, I was also furious and against Buhari 8 years where there was no Igbo person that was appointed a service chief. And the pro-Buhari people were saying, Lucky Irabo is an Agbo man, and Agbo is an Igbo, Delta Igbo. But at least when Tinubu came to power, he appointed somebody from the southeast, from Enugu, as the chief of naval staff. And that's why I said some of these agitations have been addressed. You said how many people did Tinubu appoint from Igbo? Remember that the Constitution made it mandatory in Section 137 of the ground on one, Section 137 of the Constitution, that the president must appoint at least one person from every state. Tinubu has gone beyond that. He has appointed 49 if you add himself. The only thing he did not do was to give Igbo an extra slot after the 1-1 that went around everybody. And of course, he is right to do, it's a kind of political brinkmanship that none of the Southeast states gave Tinubu up to 5% of the vote. And he could possibly have done the additional slot that he gave the other zone on the basis of their contribution to his electoral success. I'm sure even if an Igbo man were to become a president today, he may not as well be very equitable the way we are demanding from other states. But I still maintain that the solution to our nationhood, because you will ask yourself, my brothers in the studio and my sister, why would Yoruba people still be agitating when they have a Yoruba president? And in the last 25 years, we have had 2 Yoruba persons as president. So the agitation goes beyond politics. That even if you have an Igbo president today, may not even in itself solve all the problems of Igbo. Because I was in Bayelsa during the 2011 or 2015 election. And I saw that the road from Port Harcourt to Yanagua was in a very deplorable state, despite the fact that it was a South person, a former governor of Bayelsa, that was the president. And as at that time, it was also a South person, somebody from Edo State, or non-Alimeme, that was the Minister of Works. Why did they not fix the east-west road?
Right.
Why was the east-west road not fixed?
Okay.
Obasanjo was president of Nigeria from 1999 to 2007. He did not fix Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. He did not complete the Ibadan-Ogbomoso, Ibadan-Oyo-Ogbomoso road. Even the overhead bridge that he started, that crossed Lagos to Ota, he did not complete it. And that was why when he left the presidency, he was being stoned. They were throwing sachet water on him and said, what did you do for the Yoruba nation in the 8 years that you were there? So let us understand this very well, that yes, I am all for political inclusion, and I will really support and advocate for Igbo presidency. But let's also be dispassionate that even when all of this is done, it will not be a panacea to the economic suffering of average Nigeria.
All right.
The Buhari administration was president for 8 years. His governor in Katsina State was almost shedding tears on TV when bandits was running rings around the state.
All right, then.
And
we must answer this
state of
conversation.
emergency.
Yeah.
So what did Buhari presidency do to the Northwest people or the people of Katsina State?
All right. Okay.
So my people, that is it. I hope you guys had everything they said in this particular video. You know, when we talk about leaders from the Southeast, that they are responsible why Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is still in DSS custody. It's not just only them. As you can see here, some of the people from Yoruba as well as the North, they're also responsible because this hatred they have towards Igbos, they will not let Mazi Nnamdi Kanu go. No matter how they want to, hide it, it will show in one way or the other. And some allegedly said that one of the, agreement Tinubu had with this cabals that made him president is to never let Mazi Nnamdi Kanu go. So as you can see, it's only by the grace of God that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is going to be free from that DSS custody. So we need to pray harder, my people. But it's quite unfortunate that someone will say that Igbos being marginalized in Nigeria is just a perception. That is not the reality. Can you just imagine that? And this is the mentality some of these people have towards Igbos. So my people, that is it. As I bring this update to you guys. I hope you truly enjoy watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Share the video so that other people will get the opportunity to watch as well. And I want to use this opportunity to thank every one of you that be sharing my video. I see you all. May Almighty God bless you all. So I'm going to see you guys in my next one. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye for now.
Welcome to News TV.